Something weird happened to me one time when I was giving somebody feedback. I realized that I really liked this person, and as a result, I was trying to say really positive, nice things to them. And it somewhat bothered me when I figured this out, and when I figured out why I liked this person that I had never met, because we shared some things in common. It bothered me that we shared some things in common and I liked them, so I was wanting to give them positive feedback. And it bothered me because I was wondering if I was perhaps misleading them with the positive feedback and not giving them enough constructive feedback. This happens because of the halo effect. I have this nice picture up here to illustrate a person with a halo. Now, it's not about a halo on your head or not, but it has to do with the halo effect, whereby we tend to attribute things to a person or an object based on one characterization of that person or object. We project into other characteristics. So if, for example, you're giving somebody feedback and you really like them for whatever reason, perhaps, and let's draw a line here and separate out some of these reasons, perhaps you see them as a part of your group. Perhaps you are a Republican and they are a Republican. They're not a Democrat. So these are in-group people and these are out-group people. And perhaps you see them as an in-group person because they're a Republican, a fellow Republican like yourself, and so you really like them. Problematically then, because you like them and they tend to agree with you on political issues, you'll tend to project that to them doing good things in other areas as well. If they have such good political sense, well, whatever it is you're giving them feedback about, say for example they're an actor or they're working to be an actor, you'll see them as a good actor regardless of whether or not they're a good actor. You'll be more likely to anyways. And if someone's a Democrat and they're acting for you and trying to get some feedback, and if you really don't like Democrats for whatever reason or whatever the political affiliation is, you're much more likely to see them as just a bad actor. And as a result, you're likely to want to give them very positive feedback because you already think they're good at everything, versus someone who's in the out group who you're probably more likely to give very negative or constructive, at least, feedback to, because you somewhat see them as not good at everything because of this particular characterization of them as a person, right? Another type of dichotomy, you could come up with any types of labels for in-group and out-group this could happen. Say, for example, you're a CPA, someone else is a lawyer, or any number of other careers. It's possible if you're giving feedback to another CPA and you routinely give feedback to both CPAs and lawyers, you might be tempted to give the CPA more positive feedback because you like them and you just tend to think that everything they do is great. You might also be the type of person that notices someone who is attractive. Sometimes it's not even about things that people can choose. Sometimes we look at characteristics that people have no control over. So you might see someone attractive, and believe me, well, you tell me, think about a situation where you had to give some feedback to somebody that was attractive, or just think of how you react to attractive people. People that you find attractive, you're much more likely to say positive things to. People that you don't find attractive, you're probably much more likely to not say positive things to, or at least you're not more likely to say positive things. Could also be a young versus old thing. You could come up with any number of these dichotomies between an in-group and an out-group. And what you'll find is on the in-group side, you'll be misleading with positive feedback by default, and you probably won't provide much negative feedback at all. Whereas on the out-group side, you're much more likely to provide negative and or constructive feedback, and probably won't be very positive. These are by default. Now, the key is to be aware of the halo effect when it comes to giving feedback. Be aware of, especially situations where you have a strong liking or disliking of somebody, be aware that that can impact the type of feedback that you give them, and try and correct for the feedback that you're giving. Try and acknowledge that you like them. There's nothing wrong with liking people, but just acknowledge that that can come into play, and it will actually help your brain take it out of play a little bit when you're going about observing them and trying to give them feedback.